How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition. And today I am talking to Black Panel Press. But Andrew, one thing before we went live, forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name because I knew I was going to butcher it.
Oh, that's all right. Everybody screws it up. It's Benteau.
Bento. Oh, like a
Benteau.
bento box. Like a bento box.
Like a bento box. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
French way.
Thank you so much for joining me from
Yeah,
Black
thanks for
Panel Press to talk about the impact that a lot of the recent changes that have occurred with graphic novels and comics, how it's affecting everybody, how it's affecting everybody in the industry, and how everybody's trying to stay afloat and trying to succeed. Because when you reached out to me, we were talking mainly about the whole Diamond bankruptcy that happened, and a lot of publishers were concerned about that. I mean, there's a lot of publishers that still need to be paid, and that's all public information too. It's all out there just to see like how much Diamond owes everybody and what exactly can mean. Now, you all, and when I say you all, I mean Andrew, it's based out of Canada, but you sell a lot of the books to America here in the States, and you use Diamond. Were you using Diamond as your main distributor?
Yeah, our only distributor. And so they were handling the book trade and the comic shops, both.
Okay. So tell me a little bit of background. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of Black Panel Press. This is you said since 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about it. Like, what made you decide, hey, I think we need to publish books, and I think there's a way we can distribute them to America.
Yeah. Well, I've always loved comics. I used to draw. Well, I still draw myself when I have time, which is not very often anymore, as you can imagine, especially with everything going on. But and I did study business in university, and I was over in France at that time, looking for work opportunities, and I thought it would be just great to combine like my education and business with my love of comics. So I was looking for internships really, or something where I could get involved with comics over in France. And I love the scene over there. They comics were for everybody, which especially my hometown, like 10 years ago or more, like you couldn't really get comics outside of comic shops. And there were still like, it was all superheroes and everything, which is great. But at that time I was getting a little bit older and I kind of wanted to kind of branch out and diversify my reading a little bit. So I found that in France. And so at that time I was thinking, well, how can I get more involved with this? And so I met with some publishers. They wanted, and my French wasn't so good, which turned out to be maybe a good thing. I wanted a job. They were in no position to hire anyone. And so at that time, they were looking for an agent. They wanted someone to translate their books and bring them to America. Okay. And so I figured, okay, well, the skills kind of line up there. It seems like a really fun, interesting project. So started with the first book, Ancient Astronauts, and now here we are 8 years later, decided to, did a deal with Diamond, worked with them for a few years. That it worked out really well for the most part until recently. And now here we are.
So the deal with Diamond, did that start because it was a necessity of getting your books out to different comic book stores and also the book market?
Yeah.
Now, at that time in 2017, Diamond was the distributor, right? They weren't the sole distributor, but they were the distributor that everybody worked with.
Yeah, and I'd say, still in my mind today, they kind of are still the distributor for comics, and at least in North America. They were the line that they used was the largest English language distributor of comics in the world. So they were the ones to go to. And the way that it works in the book industry is, pretty much everything goes through a distributor who sells to a wholesaler, who sells to a retailer, who sells to the reader. So there's this chain that this is kind of the way that it's been done. Now, there's not to say that there aren't lots of publishers that are kind of breaking that model, because, they're selling direct or on Kickstarter, stuff like that, and doing very well. But this is just the traditional way. It's the way that you have to play the game if you want to move a lot of books. If you want to get your books out to as many readers as possible, you kind of have to go with a distributor. And, I figured who better than Diamond, the ones that have been, distributing comics for, like 30, 40 years or something. Yeah. So, yeah.
And it makes sense though, right? Like Diamond was, so I worked in a comic shop from 1992 to about 1990. Let's see, I stopped in 96. Yeah, 96, I think. So for 4 years. And back then there were 2 different distributors. If you wanted manga, you had to go through a lot. Actually, 3. There was another distributor that did a lot more of the manga. But there was also Capital, and there was Diamond. And then while the bankruptcy happened with the implosion of comics and everything, Diamond kind of became the sole place to get your books distributed out. And that's what I was going to say. It seems like it was the one-stop shop. You could have your books there with Marvel and DC. You got a cover there with like a Marvel or DC character or Spawn, and your books are featured in the same catalog. And that's pretty cool if you're a small publisher, or if you're an independent publisher that's just trying to get one book out a year. That's a really cool thing. And go ahead.
No, just agreeing with you.
Okay. I was gonna, but here recently, a lot of things have changed in 2020 when Diamond shut down for a couple of weeks. The industry kind of shifted around that. DC went and partnered up with Lunar Distribution. Marvel eventually, I think the following year, partnered up with PRH. So they lost their 2 biggest exclusive clients. When that happened.
And then with Image was earlier this year.
In 2024, right? In 2024.
Yeah, I think they might have made the official decision like right at. No, you're right. It was in 2024.
Yeah, and I think that was what they were holding on to.
That was their last big publisher, that they were working with, and it just seemed to me like if you had dealings with Diamond, it just seemed to me that they were kind of used to things being a certain way, and just weren't able to adapt to that. Like I really didn't feel any sort of malice out there. Like they didn't care about the publisher. They just didn't know what to do, and when they tried to change, it was too little, too late. I think
it's very difficult to come back. To come back from something like that. So at this point, it became a problem for a lot of publishers that were not getting paid, and it kind of became a thing over the last couple of years. It accumulated and accumulated and accumulated. There were damages, and then out of those damages, you had a certain credit. People were getting credited. They're still being charged for new books. And as you know, the comic book industry here in America is very, I don't want to say it's a well-oiled machine, but it is definitely a weekly pumping out material machine. There is no like, okay, hold on to my orders until we get everything straightened out. You're a retailer. You got to get your X-Men, Avengers, Superman, Batman book to your customers, or they will find somewhere else to shop. So you can't tell Diamond that, hey, you guys owe me $20,000 of credit. You just wait and don't ship anything out and take it out of my account until we get that straightened out. It's just impossible when you're dealing with customers that are wanting your books and they're collectors. So it kind of kept adding up, and then eventually that's where it led to this bankruptcy. When you heard about this, how did I mean, it must have been a lot of thoughts going through your head. Like, what are we gonna do? Like,
I mean, it was a shock, right? A lot of people say now that it was obvious that it was coming, but you can tell by a lot of the reactions, even from some of the larger publishers, not the huge ones, but some of them, they were taken aback by it. Everybody knew that there were some issues, with Diamond, but it didn't seem like. I think it was when the Plattsburgh location closed in New York, which is not very. It was not very far ahead of the the bankruptcy notice itself.
Mhm.
That was the real clue to a lot of people that something might be wrong. So it was just a complete shock. And publishing is not an easy business in general. And when if you look at, like I often do this, I'll look at what other publishers are around just to compare and see what they're up to. When you look from one year to the next, I mean, it's shocking how many are closed up, and that's before any of this business with Diamond. So it's a tough business. The margins are low. Competition is really intense, and then you have printing, which is only getting more and more expensive, especially if these tariffs get dropped, which is another.
Yeah, you and I talked before any of that was even going
Yeah.
on, and now there's that on top of the whole Diamond thing.
So
So let's go back to the very beginning, because this is a really good question. How do small publishers manage to get by with distribution in the U.S.? It seems pretty difficult. So
yeah, it is.
what is it that you're having to do now, Andrew? Like, what?
Well, I mean, I had to seriously think about closing down Black Panel Press at that time because, like I said, it was not an easy business to begin with, and then all of a sudden you get dropped with this. Like, we were owed almost Canadian dollars, it's $28,000,
Okay.
something like that, which was a huge amount for a small company.
Absolutely.
And then we had all this. They're telling us business as usual. Continue sending us books. Continue shipping. Releasing new titles. How are we going to do that? I don't have the cash that we were waiting on to pay for the printing, right? So I don't know if we want to directly answer that question that just popped up there. How do smaller publishers? It's a hard thing to get distribution at all as a smaller publisher because they want the distributors. They're a lot of them are having a tough time as well. Like their margins are pretty slim. They don't want to have a million different accounts because that multiplies their administration time. They can't work with every individual author or even every small publisher. They have to have set minimums. So a lot of the times it's $100,000 US is the number that I heard a lot recently, just talking to different distributors.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just to get to that point, like to get to that point without distribution it's almost a catch-22. Because if you're selling, you're selling on Amazon, or you're selling on Kickstarter and stuff like this, like you're probably not going to be able to get the volume to be able to attract a distributor to get to that minimum, So right at the moment, like we're talking to other distributors,
mm-hmm.
And so
yeah, it's not as easy because I've talked to several publishers about this.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a misconception. Or actually, I don't even want to say a misconception. I think sometimes there's just not enough information out there for people. Mm-hmm. Because as a consumer, as a buyer, as a collector, it's like you don't keep up with this stuff. Why would you know, right?
Yeah.
You're about reading. You're about buying the next book. You're about collecting the first issue of Batman, Absolute Batman, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's your.
You don't pay attention to who the publisher is when you buy a book, right?
It's not as easy. Yeah. And I've talked to a lot of publishers that actually have this problem that you have to, like you said, like meet a minimum of so many orders and so much money a month.
Yeah.
I'm not going to point fingers, but other distributors that are not Diamond Comics, that's what they that's what they say. That's what they state. So some publishers have just they're trying to do we'll just, you can order directly through us.
Yeah.
You can order directly through our website.
Right.
And it's become this big nightmare for you all. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I mean, the logistics of that for one thing, but people just, I would love that if people would just come and buy from us directly. People are not going to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like I said, what's the last book that you bought, for example? That was not a major.
That's not a major
big comic book title, for example. Yeah, not a major one.
I'm trying to think. So I have publishers send me books.
Yeah,
what is the last book that I ended up buying? I actually bought one just recently.
Yeah, don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it. Who's the publisher?
Oh, it was Abrams Books.
Okay, so you're one of the very few, I think, that would notice that, but most people don't ever notice that, right? Who the publisher?
Most people don't notice publishers? Oh,
no, they don't. Like, I think when you build up enough brand equity that you're very extremely well known. Like you've been doing this for a long time. You have a certain
Uh-huh.
consistency of brand, and yeah, people know the publisher. But when you're when you're in the bookstore and you're just looking through the shelf and you're picking things up, people don't know who the publisher is. And like I've run into customers before that had our books and they never even noticed that our name yet, right? And I think that's one of the things that comes, like I said, with time, and more experience and just getting your name out there. But yeah, so that's the challenge. You're promoting individual titles a lot of the time. So people, they're used to ordering from Amazon or wherever they buy books when they're out and about. If they go to Barnes and Noble or Indigo up in Canada,
Hmm.
but they're not going to buy from a publisher unless they're already really well familiar with the publisher. And then you work in all the logistics that goes into it because you have to have a payment processor, fulfillment partner, all of that. Yeah, that's challenging, right? And like I said, most people they're not even hearing that this is going on, right? So
Yeah, a lot of people just, it's
yeah,
a lot of people go to the comic book store or order their books online,
hmm
and out of nowhere, books are going up in price, and they're like, "Wait, what the hell is
hmm
going on? That can't be right."
yeah.
But I mean, the whole world as a whole is like that. My brother texted me yesterday. He was like, "Holy crap, dude! My amiibos just shot up in price. Not amiibos. I'm sorry. He collects the Japanese nanodroids.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because he was like, I pre-ordered these things for $35. They're $100 right now, and I'm like, yeah, it's happening
Good
everywhere.
return.
It's happening everywhere.
That's a good
So
return.
I really do feel for publishers like this because
Mhm.
it's not easy. I saw a tweet. I made the mistake of getting on Twitter a couple of weeks ago,
Okay.
and somebody that has his own publishing company that
Yeah.
had a super successful Kickstarter was like, it doesn't make any sense why people are trying to shop out distributors. Why don't you just sell it yourself? And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, okay, that's cool if it works for you. Like
Yeah.
if you were super successful at a Kickstarter and now you're able to build on your brand, that's awesome. But not everybody's like that. It is so difficult. Like imagine
Yeah.
being a comic book store with maybe, let's say, a big comic book store with 4 employees. One
hmm
is going to be designated to call all these little publishers up and saying, "Hey, I need five copies of this book. Hey, I need," or order it, right?
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of going to the
They're not.
one-stop shop
Yeah.
that
They're
so
not going to. They're not going to do it, right? I mean, like I've had even local comic book stores. They're pretty good, actually. I mean, they've reached out because they know about all this, what's going on, and so they reached out and said, like, "Do you want to sell to us directly?" At the time, like, I was not sure because I didn't want to, where it's pretty ironclad the contract. It's exclusive with Diamond at the moment. So unless because they're bankrupt, we can cancel that contract anytime. But what's the future look like if we do that, right? So I didn't want to kind of step on toes there for the sake of a few sales, but that was our situation. But yeah, no, the retail they don't have the resources to do that. So
no, they don't. And
yeah,
that's why I looked at that tweet and I was like,
yeah,
that's so stupid. Like, why would you, like,
yeah,
no comic book store is going to do that. And I seriously
yeah,
doubt any other publisher is going to try to, say that. Like, this is
yeah.
why we had a one-stop shop. And regardless of how people felt about Diamond,
hmm
they built, an easy website to navigate through. Uh,
Yep.
PRH and Lunar have been doing this for 4 years now, comic book stuff, right? And
hmm
their websites are a nightmare to still navigate
Oh
through. I
yeah,
know because I put a video together every month of the upcoming collected editions and graphic novels for the next month.
yeah,
And I still use Diamond because Diamond is the one place that actually has everything in order. The
yep.
dates are off, so I have to do some research, but
No,
Lunar
okay.
and PRH, they don't. They don't have it.
Yeah,
They don't have
yeah,
the
yeah.
information. There's a lot of misinformation there. Lunar tries to keep up to date with everything from DC, especially, but even those contents are messed up. Uh,
Yeah.
so, what kind of avenues have you tried when the whole thing came out about Diamond? Like when you first started hearing wind of like, oh, I don't think we're gonna see this money, or they're gonna go bankrupt. What's gonna happen? Like, what did you try to do?
Well, at that time, I launched a GoFundMe, so that helped out a lot. That was almost $5,000 Canadian that people donated. So it was really it was really heartening to see that, the support that we were getting from
Mhm.
the community. So that helped just to cover the expenses over that period where the bankruptcy was going on.
Mhm.
Because we have a little bit of debt on our books as well, and it's just the down to the little things like Adobe subscription, right? Just to be able to continue doing layouts for books and stuff like that. So there's expenses that had to be taken care of, and then just to be able to print the upcoming books, because like you said earlier, I mean, with any kind of publishing, not just comics, it relies on novelty. You can't, doesn't matter how good your books are, you need to be coming out with something new, like pretty much every month, at least a few times a year, right? And so if you stop publishing, you're dead. So you got to continue that momentum without that cash flow. So that's really hard. I reached out to a customer that was a Junior Library Guild. They had bought almost 2,000 copies of this book, Shadows on the Ice. And this is where I will say, like, I wasn't really pleased. This is a thing that happened. Diamond had been following up again and again, almost every week, about this order. Was this order shipped and received? Because we want to invoice it. And I said, why are they? It's strange that they're so eager to invoice this order. And then all of a sudden, we get the bankruptcy notice on January 14th.
Mhm.
And then it became clear they wanted to invoice the order so then they could write it off, right?
Oh,
So they were trying to invoice as much as they could invoice.
yeah, before.
I don't think everyone knew that's what was happening, because I have some people at Diamond that I really trust and enjoy working with, but it was just, that was the timing of that. Like, they're not usually so gung trigger happy to invoice an order like that,
Mhm.
and that's why it was like just before then, right? So anyway, I don't know where I was before
No, no,
that.
you were talking about how you started a GoFundMe and you
Yeah,
saw how
yeah.
much love.
Oh yeah.
To
So this
that.
Junior Library Guild, I reached out to them. I asked them, would you consider paying us directly instead of Diamond? Normally they'd pay Diamond, who would then pay Black Panel Press, right? And they were actually open to it. And so that was good. So all in all, recovered almost half, I guess, or maybe a little bit more than half of all the funds that Diamond owed us. And I think that there's a chance that we might be able to recover some more money from Diamond as time goes on. It's really hard to say at this point because it's really opaque, this whole process. Um, for a while there, we didn't even know the purchase price, right, of Diamond. Now, because of that lawsuit from Alliance, that was published, the purchase price. So it seems like the purchase price is kind of close to what was owed by Diamond. So we'll have to see. Will we
Oh,
get any money back?
so I had contacts at Diamond and
Mhm.
PRH. Are these being as open as they were at the very beginning with everything? Like
They weren't very open in the beginning either. So I
they were.
reached out.
Oh, they weren't. Like at
Not
first.
not to
They were-
us, not to us, no, because I was reaching out with questions and things, and so I was told at first mistakenly, and I really believe it was a mistake on their part,
Mhm.
but I was, because they said business as usual, you're going to be paid as normal, and because they had secured this financing from J.P. Morgan, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, on that basis, I went and shipped them the latest book, which is Hanging On by a Thread, which is out. It's out now, actually, in April.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have done that. Um, they gave me the incorrect information. Everything was going to be paid as usual, etc. It wasn't going to be. And then the accounting department was kind of a bit, we'll say, cold when I asked him, okay, what's happening with these payments? And he just said, didn't you read the notice? I said, yeah, I read the notice, but then I was told by a Diamond employee that we were going to be paid as normal.
Mhm.
So I kind of made some decisions on that basis because there was that trust that was there, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that wasn't that I wasn't very happy about that. And then there was some other things, like there's a bankruptcy proof of claim process where you have to report how much you're owed to the bankruptcy court. So then they'll resolve it all, with the courts. And that was also, I was told that there was nothing that I could do to reclaim the money. I just had to wait. Whereas actually, you have to document and file your claim. And so it was a bit of misinformation and things like that. And they didn't seem to be, because I know the employees, they didn't have the information.
Mhm.
So, but I think someone higher up, probably could have or should have communicated the information, like at least to be, try to uh, relieve our fears a little bit, or let us know a little bit about what to expect or what might be coming, so we could prepare better for it. That was an opportunity that they missed, I think. So
I know. So some of the publishers I talked to said at the very beginning they were getting kind of the same thing you were. Like somebody's like, "No, it's business as usual.
yeah.
Things will be okay." And then they started losing communication.
Hmm.
Like they couldn't get a hold of their normal contacts, and
Okay.
things were just kind of missing from their actual profiles, and like how much was owed to them and how much credit they had and what hadn't been returned yet. Like it was just it seemed like it was a mess.
Yeah. I wouldn't say in my case, like the communication seemed to get a little bit better over time as this whole process was going on, but I could see that being the case for a lot of people.
how how are you doing now with everything and Diamond, and then we can talk about uh the whole printers and printing and all that. How is Black Panel Press doing as a
Mhm.
whole now? What how are you selling your books, for example? Are you still going to be using Diamond, or are you still trying to find?
Yeah. Well, actually, we signed with just this week. We signed with IPG, so
Okay.
that's that's our book market distributor.
Hmm.
So I mean, I was reluctant to make a change, but they made a good offer. So that's for book market, and so the bookstores, libraries, the schools, book clubs, stuff like that. And with the comic shops, we're going to stick with Diamond. Um,
Hmm.
as long as they're willing to keep working with Black Panel, and I think hopefully they will be, because I think we've maintained a good working relationship through everything. Whereas I think a lot of other publishers rightly were upset and showed it. I tried to play it a little bit more cool, to try to keep whatever options on the table that I could to keep the company going.
Yeah.
So I made that decision, but at this point, like if anybody is out there watching and they're with Diamond, I would say I would probably stick it out a little bit more if it's possible to do. Wait and see what happens with this alliance sale. Make sure that one of the things I wanted more insurance of, and I wasn't able to get it, was that they wanted Alliance is going to keep the book distribution side of Diamond, which is not very clear. It seems to me that they'd be more interested in the comic side, but people are saying all sorts of different things online, so it's hard to know. So yeah, with the comic shops, we'll stick with Diamond as long as we can, and I really wish them the best, because I think without Diamond, now we're going to kind of go back to a sort of monopoly where, yeah, you have Penguin Random House, but really, they're not really going to be taking on a lot of the smaller publishers. So it's really only Lunar. And you're going to end up with the same situation. I think anybody in a monopoly is going to behave a similar way eventually, right? Where they're going to get kind of sluggish and they're going to get non-responsive and stuff like that. So I think it's in everyone's best interest now that Diamond continues, because that way we're going to have some healthy competition between Lunar and Diamond and Penguin, um, and you'll have options, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully, in the end, it will help out a lot of the consumers uh, with at least here in America, there's a
yeah,
significant amount of discounts that come from distributors.
yeah,
Overseas, not so much, but overseas still has to pay whatever. I think for the most part, most of them are still using Diamond for the big
yeah,
two, Marvel and DC, because that's the big primary overseas
yeah.
distributor. Sorry to hear about your challenges from a
Oh,
fellow
Canadian.
Canadian. Hope there's a silver lining somewhere. Elbows up.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Thanks for that. I hope things are going to work out better with IPG. I know that they're much more established in the bookstore library market, so I'm told.
Hmm.
They have better systems in place, and so hopefully we'll get the support that we need, because the Black Panel has always been better in the stronger in the bookstore and the library market than in comic shops. They do well in comic shops, but and so what I'm told is that in Diamond is they're a comic distributor, not a book distributor.
Uh,
Even though technically they do both,
yeah.
they do both. It's just that they're everything that they do is just a little bit more aligned with that market, the comic shop market. Uh, this is what I've been told. Hopefully, like I said, if this hadn't happened, we would never be making a change. So hopefully, this will be even better in the future with this change.
I hope so too. And this is from Luis saying, "Thank you for the reply. I work at a publishing company in Brazil, and there are big challenges here too with distribution. I'm
Okay.
sure everybody is facing this. So let's talk about the other thing that isn't good news. But
Okay. Don't stress me now. Oh my.
it's there, and it's affecting everybody. And
Yeah.
I want to hear it from a publisher. I hear certain things, and it's just that there's so much uncertainty, and that's one of the big issues. But let's talk about these. What's affecting a lot of people these days, not just in comics, but everywhere, and those are the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
How is it affecting Black Panel Press so far with printers and what's going on, and what do you all have to do about this?
Well, right now it hasn't directly impacted, other than like you said, the uncertainty, which is the killer in any type of business. It's uncertainty in any economy. Like, I consider myself relatively apolitical. So I don't fault anybody for voting any way that they're going to vote. But with these policies, it's one thing to implement this protectionist kind of policy, but it's another thing to do it in such a way that's completely unpredictable. Because people don't know how to react. You're not going to invest money in an economy or in a business where that might be impacted by tariffs in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So, and that means like no factories, no new jobs, and I would doubt that there are a lot of new publishers going to pop up now. Because what you're going to see is the ones with a strong foothold hopefully will hang on. And I can't even count Black Panel on that, but like I like to think that we're getting a stronger foothold on our business. But
that's good. Okay, so let's start from the obvious question: is where most of the books that Black Panel Press make, where are they printed?
Well, in China at the moment. Over the history of the company has been Canada or China. I think probably half the books maybe are printed in Canada. But and just in order to, like you said, you got your distributor discounts, advertising, and everything like this. Like, you have to get as good of a unit price as you can when you're printing. So China, and last I was reading about it, I haven't been really up on the news on this because I've just been trying to keep the head above water. But
it's difficult to keep up with everything. Like, you're trying to keep your head above water, worried about like what the next price is going to be, where the money's coming from, and what's going on with everything else. Where's the pause? When does it start? What are printers saying? So that's why I was asking you from a publishing standpoint.
Yeah. But it looked like there was going to be up to 50% tariffs at one point from Chinese goods, and it looked like that might apply to books as well.
Yeah.
But then the most recent news that I've seen, and I've seen some things from IBPA, who I'm a member with, saying that I think it was the IBPA, but this Independent Book Publisher Association, and saying that it's not going to apply to books. So hopefully that'll continue to be the case. Because books have always, I don't know about always, but for the longest time they've been zero rated, so zero duties on books coming into the United States. So I think they're just kind of continuing that policy.
So my goodness, 50%. That would
that would be a killer, right?
You look at it from your perspective, right? You're the guy that's actually having to pay forward or pay this in advance.
Yeah.
Then you look at it from the retailer perspective of like 50%. Like, I don't even know how many to order anymore. How many of my how many of my customers are going to drop this? They can't all afford it. Like,
it's going to be passed on, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would love to print in Canada or the US, but from anytime I've quoted out those jobs, like, you got to start at like 5,000 to 10,000 copies for it to make sense. To print in Canada and US, because you get 60% discount from your distributor. So that's another thing too. It's like this kind of uncertainty. Normally now I'd be like, if a book is good, I'm excited about it, I'm going to publish it. I don't really worry that much about how many I'm going to sell until we get the book. Maybe
Okay.
that's not the best business strategy, but it makes for good books, though. And
Yeah, I
that's
was
the
going to say, but you're worried about the books, and I think that is what is important.
yeah.
But from a realistic standpoint, you also have to think ahead too. It's like, oh,
Yeah, but if there's a book now where I think I might do 500 copies, like I probably am not going to publish that book right now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that sucks for the author and sucks for the reader and for me because I love working on those
mm-hmm.
projects. But it's like if I have to worry about tariffs and I have to worry about distribution changes and everything, like if I'm going to the upcoming books, I have to be pretty certain about them, and that just sucks up any kind of creativity, innovation, in publishing.
And yeah, one of the things that we both have mentioned is that there's so much uncertainty,
Yeah.
and nothing is nothing is nothing is solid until you hear otherwise. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when you have companies like Nintendo, for example, and how successful and super successful they've been, and they pulled from the American market the pre-order for the Switch
Yeah.
after dropping the price, or I'm sorry, not dropping the price down, but like letting people know how much it's going to be. And
Yeah.
then they were like, wait a second. We got to figure out some things here. We don't know if this is exactly. And then they brought it back. However, when they brought it back with the price, I think it was like a $5 increase, maybe nothing at all. One of the things that happened though, where the actual video games and the
Mm-hmm.
controllers have gone up a
Oh,
lot
okay.
more. And because I think pre-orders start in April, or actually this Thursday for the Switch 2, and I'm just using this as an example.
This is how out of touch I am. I have a Switch and I love the Switch, and I had no idea there was going to be a Switch 2.
There's a Switch 2. Awesome. Surprise, Andrew. But
yeah.
the thing is that they already started thinking ahead of how much this is going to cost, even though nothing has been set in stone, that they're upping the price of amiibos, and they're upping the price of controllers. They're upping the price of video games. So it becomes one of these things. If Nintendo, a super successful company, is already thinking ahead, then other video game companies like Sony and Xbox, or Microsoft, sorry, are going to follow suit. So that's kind of, it goes back to this, like the uncertainty of it, and how much do you increase the price of things, because you don't know.
Well, you don't want to be the first one increasing their price, right? Because what happens when my book is $34.99 and it's the same book, in terms of page count and just general packaging, like is $24.99. They're going to go? Consumers will go for the cheaper options. I mean, with the art and comics, it's it's not so cut and dry, obviously, because when they get sold on a book because they really love it, and at that point, it's not the most price sensitive type of thing, I guess. Once you like something, you're probably going to go for it. But yeah, it does get impacted like anything, right? So do I raise my prices the 50%, like, to account for these tariffs, and then instead of selling 1,000 books, maybe sell 500, or, I don't want to be the one to jump the gun. So it's always like with any industry, but I think especially publishing, it's very delicate balance. Like, how much are you going to price this book? Because if people really love it, maybe they'll pay a little bit more. But people that are not familiar with you, or they don't know the artist, a lower price makes a difference. It helps them be introduced to these kinds of stories.
And you all have quite the library too at Black Panel Press, and because you've been at it since 2017. How many books do you all print a year, would you say?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably about 3,000 to 5,000, I guess.
Copies. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Titles. How many titles have you printed?
Well, that's like in flux, I could say, because it used to be around 5 books a year.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I mean, like the first 2 or 3 years, I think it was only 4 or 5 books. I was doing it more as a hobby when I started out. As I work, my background's in advertising, which obviously comics are a lot more fun. So that's kind of one of the reasons why.
A little bit more fun.
A lot more fun. Yeah. We don't have time to get into it. Some of the things I've had to advertise over the years. But yeah, now it's like I have the capacity. We were scaling up to about 10 new books per year until this happened with the bankruptcy. So we've pushed off that's another thing that we did, going back to your question earlier, we pushed off all the release dates by 2 months of the upcoming titles, just some breathing room so we could try to gather resources and make sure they have the launches that they deserve,
And when you hear business as usual coming from somebody like Diamond,
Mm-hmm.
how is it for you all? Is it still business as usual? Like, let's go ahead and start. We started this project, or I think we need to like slow down and do half as many projects this year.
Yeah, basically that's what it was. Yeah, because
I
the
hate
cash.
hearing. I hate
Yeah, I mean it sucked. We had absolutely beautiful books coming out, and they're still going to come out. All the authors that I've talked to, like I've tried to be as transparent as I can, and they understand the situation and they're willing to wait it out a little bit. But there's a book, Putin's Fortune, coming out in the summer. Pavel's Mask, which I think is on the website under the coming soon. That one's really cool. It's like very minimalist kind of mix of like folklore and science fiction sort of thing. And I think they're the best books, the ones that are coming, like not this, we've obviously tried to do some incredible books, and I think we have almost every book that Black Panel's ever published. Is just, what I like about it is that you probably would not see it with any other publisher. You probably wouldn't find any book that compares very closely with any Black Panel book, and that's what I like about our catalog. But yeah, so hopefully by next year things are going well. We can keep some good distribution relationships and get back up to 10 to maybe even more titles per year.
I'll be honest with you, Andrew. Every time I do, so I talked about how I did the upcoming collected editions of every month. I do that,
Mm-hmm.
And the Black Panel Press books, I don't think I own a single one, but
We'll have to fix that.
I remember like the covers. Like I remember, I don't know when this came out. I don't even know if it's still in print, so I'm going to bring it up. There was a book called Constellation. I love that cover, and it was the Mad Tsar that you all did, right? That was Black Panel Press. I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. I got one here somewhere.
The Amazing Camel Toe. I remember the Amazing Camel Toe. Like I think I stopped because when I look at covers, like I'm like, what's happening here? And that title is so.
That one catches your eye, right?
Well, the title and the cover, absolutely, man. But my wife, I had this, and I almost got it for my wife. The Last Starry Night, because it's like you had Starry Night in the background. It's Van Gogh, and I'm like, what is this? No matter what, like it always caught my eye when I was going through the catalog.
The covers, I mean, I can't obviously take any credit for that except for the fact that I choose well, I suppose. I don't really have much to do with I don't have much to do with the actual stories or the covers or anything. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll make a little suggestion here or there, but that one in particular is a favorite because it has so much heart. Jameson is an art teacher. Jameson O'Donnell, who wrote Last Starry Night. He's an art teacher at the Frostburg, I think is the name of it, University in Maryland. And he just kind of he really kind of put himself into the character of Van Gogh in that book and showed a different side of him, which is not, because most people they show the suffering and how he was not all there, but he had there's a lot of joy in his life too, which is a different aspect that people hadn't seen. So so I don't know. There's some books that I think I've gotten a little bit better at choosing books that people are more excited about, because there's some of the old ones, like they were amazing books that critically really well reviewed. Jean and Modigliani. I don't know if you saw that. Nobody saw that one because it's just not something that the American audiences are ready for.
They're not ready. We're not ready.
Not yet. I think
you said Jean and what?
Modigliani. So he's the
the
expressionist artist, Italian.
Okay.
Right. So it's kind of like an artist biography, which anybody who reads it, they really love it. But like I said, most people are not quite ready for that. kind of the story. So I'm trying to like.
This is stuff that's up my alley, man. I love
Yeah.
I just went to the website really quick and I was looking.
Okay.
That is Constellation. Good. I should have double checked.
Yeah.
But I do remember that the Mad Tsar standing out.
Nice hours ago.
And the last book I remember being in the solicits from Diamond again, because that's where a lot of us pull our information from.
Of course, yeah.
Was the Shadows on the Ice, the 1972 Andy Success, of course, about the soccer team.
Which I was very happy got the little medal from Junior Library Guild. Gold.
Yeah, that is
very cool.
Freaking awesome, man.
Yeah,
congratulations to you all. How do people go about pitching their ideas or pitching their books to you as a publishing company? And how does that even work? Or do you reach out to certain creators?
I don't reach out, but I probably should reach out more. But mostly what happens is I get any of the French translations. I get those catalogs from French publishers, and I look through and see what I like. Another cool one here, which is going to be, I don't know if like the camera's probably going to suck, but this Ville Vermine, which is probably going to call it Vermin City. This is a really weird sci-fi thing about starts off with a PI who can talk to objects. So it's kind of like a sci-fi mixed with noir, really nicely illustrated. So
who does the translations?
I'll do half of them, I would say. It depends on the subject matter.
How busy are you?
Yeah, I'm busy. But it depends on the subject matter, right? Because if like my French is about a B2 level. So general French, no problem. But if it's a subject like I'm gonna comment there.
I love The Man in the Painter's Room. Best of luck to you guys. I love indie publishers.
Thanks,
they are
man.
Fresh.
That's the one that's called The Last Starry Night. Now we retitled it and we put it in a hardcover.
Oh, that's the one I was talking about with Van Gogh.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one I wanted to get my wife. I love that Modigliani book. I also really dug.
Oh, cool, man.
Too.
Thank
you.
See,
so
man,
much. You got people that read Black Panel Press. That's awesome. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm really happy to see that someone is reading the Modigliani one because, like you said, there's not that many people go for that. So
don't you can't say things like that and be like America wasn't ready.
It's gonna work. It's gonna work, why? Because everyone likes to be that different friend. Right?
We like reverse psychology in America. Yeah,
everyone likes it. That's right. Everyone likes to introduce their friends to something, right? So
yeah,
I'll give you the first one.
So I asked you to repeat it.
Yeah. So what were we talking about there?
We were talking about the translations and just how busy you are. You got to be busy if you're doing half of them, and then on top of that, you're also the publisher of said books. So how do you balance that? Like at what point
I do some advertising work as well. Just especially right now, it's been really timely because I picked up some work in advertising when the bankruptcy came down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean it's a lot. I don't know that anybody can really do it perfectly. It's really tough. There's just so many moving parts. That's kind of one of the things I like about it. There's so many moving parts. Like no 2 days are the same. I don't know, man. I don't know how but I'll usually hire out. Like if there's one book, The Hanging On by a Thread, which is like a lot of medical terminology and stuff like this in there. And I will hire something like that out to somebody who has a little bit of knowledge in a specific area that can make sure that the translation's really good quality. Because you'll see Ancient Astronauts, for example, like I think there's some reviews and they specifically mentioned the translation not being very good. That was the first book that Black Panel ever published. So I really made sure after that book that would never happen again. Anytime there's a translation, I think that, most people find that the translations are really good. And now we're working with Americans and I'm working with the Australian author and
it seems like you guys have quite a range in everything.
So they're not all the translations anymore. They are, I would say, almost every book that we've done is still kind of in that European style a little bit.
I like that.
That.
I mean, like you have when you have companies like Humanoids and you've got companies like Magnetic Press doing things like that. I think those books tend to stand out. Absolutely.
I love Magnetic Press. I'm a big fan of them, and they do all of the Now, of course, Mathieu Bablé is a French
Oh
guy.
yeah, that stuff is
You know
so.
Shangri-La?
Yeah, big
Is
fan
that,
of that stuff.
do
Yeah,
you have that?
I have that one. I have actually I ended up getting the three books in a box set that he did. What was
Oh,
the one
right,
with
yeah.
the
Magnetic, right?
big Colossus? That one was awesome.
Address Day, right? I don't know what they call it in English. But, that
Uh,
was the one where he's immortal, immortal king, right?
yeah, that one's excellent, dude. Yeah, they've done a lot of great things. So I think
Yeah.
it's awesome that you guys are definitely sticking, to that. What's the best way people can help spread the word? Any
I
preferred
should have prepared for this before.
way? We should.
It's-
Well, I do have the website pulled up,
yeah, yeah.
and I did put it in the description of the video.
Oh, I do have an answer.
Oh, go
Because
ahead.
on the website, we give away a free digital graphic novel to people signing up for email. So yeah, if you visit the website, you can just, the pop-up will come at some point. You'll get a free graphic novel. And I think that's the best way is just, get something for free. See if you like it first. I'm sure that you will, and then share with friends if you feel so inclined. That would be um, much appreciated, just to help introduce people to Black Panel Press, and not only Black Panel Press, but like any small publisher whose books you like, because I think it's a type of industry where it's not very cutthroat. Like we're all kind of on the same team. We're just trying to help comics as a whole, and yeah, so just share, read more, and share more.
There you go, Tyler. Tyler's a good friend of ours here on the channel, and he's a great letterer as
Nice.
well.
Thanks for the
He's done a
question,
lot.
Tyler.
So that is something to note and help spread the word. Do you want? Is it better if people are interested in something to, of course, purchase directly from you all instead of having a retailer order, or do you still want that retailer to order books? If they have a local comic book store.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, now that we have distribution secured for coming years, I would say just buy from wherever you feel most comfortable buying from. I'm not going to encourage anyone to go out and buy on Amazon. I guess that's the only thing. Buy anywhere other than Amazon. And I only say that because Amazon, there's no way they'll ever watch this.
Okay. I don't. Well, Amazon is so different. Amazon doesn't even have, like, when we were talking about earlier how
Yeah.
a comic book store has to have somebody order so many copies from.
Yeah.
At one time it was Diamond, and now they have to go to different places. Amazon just has bots, and
Yeah.
it's so weird how that algorithm works. They base it on previous sales of toys. If it's like Batman
Yeah.
related, like
Yeah.
movies,
Everything kind of gets lumped in together, right, under one rank, like sort of.
it is so random, man. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how does like an independent publisher even
Yeah.
what is a bot order? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
We sell on Amazon because there's no choice. You have to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But don't buy from Amazon. So buy from indie bookstores best, but even Barnes and Noble and Indigo, I think, because it seems to me like we've had at least one book in Barnes and Noble. Like they make it some kind of an effort to bring indies in there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Fellow Canadian Project Viking, you're absolutely right. Omar should semicolon. He's not talking about that book, Project Alex. Come on, man. He's talking about something else. So what does the future hold for Black Panel Press? What do you all have in the works for 2025? Oh my gosh. Forget what year.
2025, yeah. I got a present. Let me see. I got a presentation that I gave to. I'm not going to deliver it here, but just jogs my memory that I gave to Diamond. So let's see. Oh, do you want me to share?
Yeah,
share
sure.
Okay.
See, what do you got? What do you have in the works?
Okay.
Just hit present down at the bottom, and I just have to give you permission, and that's it.
Screen. Okay. If I can figure out how to do this. All right, there we go. I think. Yep.
Okay. And stage.
There we go.
I'll go ahead and highlight it.
Yeah, this one is going to be a lot of fun. It's Luke Milton and Lizzie Lang from Australia. doing
Okay.
kind of a parody of 80s sci-fi cartoons. So this is the Earth's first and worst ambassador, and he's lost his keys in space. So it's kind of episodic, just space adventures. We're gonna have a trailer for that one pretty soon. This one's Putin's Fortune, which I'm probably going to get radiation poisoning for doing this one. But this is like, if you've seen, there's a really good book. I can't remember who did it. First Second, I think it's the publisher.
Okay.
The Accidental Czar.
I know what I haven't read it, but
Yeah,
I know
yeah, really good book. But and so this one is kind of similar, but it kind of is more about how Putin became so filthy rich and the things that he did to get there. So that's I think that one's going to be fun. Some of the art from there. I don't know if I had the. No, I don't have any interior art there. Oh, this one is Edwin Burtis, contemporary artist in the UK, and called an autobiographic novel. I said we have to take that off there because it's his life growing up in UK 80s and 90s rave scene, but he kind of mixed that in with the serial killer story. So it's really super creepy how realistic it is, the story.
Oh, okay.
All the little tiny details about, I don't know, like little toys that were on the go back then or whatever. And then he just kind of murders someone. And I said, okay, we have to take autobio off of that because the people are, it's believable. And it's all black and white. He's a really talented guy.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lizard World, very exciting one. This is like, I don't even know how to describe it. I guess right here is a blend of gothic horror, dark comedy, body horror. Basically about almost a cult of people that use lizard organs to extend their lifespans. And it's written in 17th century English. And so it's written like a classic piece of literature, but it has all of these wacky, urban legend type of elements in it. So that one is,
Oh, I like that art.
how
Yeah.
creepy that's going to be, right? I'm really excited about that one. And The Last Watchtower, which is Carl Saminsky. And there's not much to share on this one because all I have is the art, which is awesome.
Yeah. It's all black and white.
Sprawling. Yeah. Yeah, all black and white. It's about this guy, Cal Ferris, is kind of like after humanity is basically finished, and it's kind of documenting, observing from a space station. And then lo and behold, a stranger arrives and kind of switches everything up for him. Oh, that's it. So that's like the next couple. I do have more, but
Oh, okay.
I'll send them to you later, and then that way you can share them if you want.
I'd be happy to. Scott saying Accidental Czar is so good. I'll read any Box Brown book. And who gets to decide what series gets printed? So let me just bring Andrew back. Yeah, I think he accidentally left. But I'm here to answer any questions that I possibly can. Let me make sure that he's got the link. And there we go. All of them look delicious. Black panel is after my wallet. There you are. This is a really good question. Who gets to decide what series gets printed?
Me.
It's all up to you, Andrew. You're the one that gets to decide. And do you all do like a one-time print run, or do you all go back to print on some of the older?
No, I go back, but to give a more serious answer to that, it's like there's all kinds of different forces, I guess, involved in that, right? What the distributor also helps out a lot if they're a good distributor, and I have a criteria that I look for. It's like, first of all, it's got to be good, and some things about the artist, like, do you have your own audience network already? That helps a lot. If you have like 100,000 followers on Instagram, then your book doesn't have to be as good as someone who has 5,000 followers, to get published.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Unfortunate reality of the publishing industry. You get people, if you're creating, you got to get comfortable with building your own audience. It doesn't matter what platform it's on. Like, if you don't like TikTok, don't do TikTok. Simple. But you know, yeah. Sorry, I don't know where we ended.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah. Yes, and you are after Salit's wallet.
Yeah.
Um,
You get
well, I
you
just
get your first one free, right? Like the
I like
like
that. I
like
mean,
every
that's really
dealer
good.
would say.
Um, is there anything else you wanted to add? You wanted to bring up about Black Panel Press, and we talked about the future of Black Panel Press, which that's amazing that you kept your head above water.
Mm-hmm.
You managed to pull yourself out of. Whew, I mean, at some point, this was a sinking ship, and it was taking down a
Oh
lot
yeah, yeah,
of publishers, brother. So it's good to see that
yeah.
a smaller publisher was able to just freaking, bounce back, bro. Oh, Tyler, you were so sweet. That's my wife. Starry Night ordered and sent to Melanie.
Nice.
Thank you, man. That's so sweet.
I actually see that right here. Thanks a lot, Tyler. That's great.
My wife is in love with Van Gogh. Like we were in Tokyo, and she was
Oh,
like, they have one Van Gogh we got to go and see at this museum, and I was like, we're in Tokyo. This is where you want to go, really? And she was like, yes, and I was like, okay, I know
oh,
better.
yeah.
And we got to see Starry Night when we were in New York for New York Comic
At the
Con.
MoMA, right?
Yeah, that's
So you send me your address afterwards. I'll get you a copy. You haven't read it yet, or
no, I wasn't kidding. Like
Oh,
the Black Panel Press books pop up
yeah,
on my videos when I talk about upcoming collected editions of graphic novels.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just one of those things like, oh, I gotta write that down, and then I end up writing it down, highlighting things, and I have like a shameful list of books that from 2022 that I still have not ordered, and 2023,
Oh,
2024, that looked like got my interest, and I'm sure some of those books from different publishers have now gone out of print. And when I go back and look at that list, I'm like, oh, I can't order that anymore. That sucks.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I get caught up because I am very, very blessed that I get to do this for a living. I get to read comics and talk about them for a living.
Yeah.
So it puts me behind when I'm like, publishers send me so many books that I'm like, I haven't read a single one of those.
No, you can't, right?
If it's a collected edition, I'm like, oh, that's good. I've done this. I know all the story left. If it's X-Men and any kind
Yeah.
of edition, I got it. But if it's like something new, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I look at a stack of books and I just get overwhelmed, and I'm like, I need to get on that. So
Yeah, you know that for a while there, like basically we almost have the same job in a way, right? Most of my time is just like reading comics to see
yes,
if I'm interested in them. And for a while there, it was kind of getting not so fun anymore because it was just work. And I was like, all right, I got to get through these five different graphic novels, right? And thank God that kind of faded away. I don't know exactly what it was that made that better. I guess it was like I'm not that worried about if I get it or if I don't get it.
oh, I see what you mean. Because
Yeah,
you were trying to get through the book before
you're
someone
reading,
else picked it up.
yeah, that was part of it. And it's also like you're reading it from a very critical lens and also from like a kind of business lens, right? Where it's like,
Mhm.
will this book perform well? Like, will it sell a lot of copies? And that took a lot of the fun out of it. You know,
Because,
looking at it from
but it is your business, so you do have to.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
you may not realize you're probably doing it subconsciously now, but
yeah. I am still doing it, I think, but I don't worry about it anymore. It's like I don't know if something. I think it's a bit of more of a separation from the fan to the owner now, whereas there
Mhm.
wasn't before. It's like I can read something and love it, enjoy it, and think like I can't sell this,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
right? And so and then it's because now when over time, like I don't think any publisher really knows what's really going to do well. Is you're always surprised by things that's like I thought. Gina Modigliani. And we'll come back to that one. I thought that would do really well, didn't. Other books I didn't think were going to do well, and they did, right? So you never really know. But like over time, it's like you start to get a criteria of what works and what doesn't work. And I think we just push the boundaries a little bit. It's like we're not going to do something crazy that the market's not ready for, or maybe we'll just push them a little bit towards something that they haven't seen,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's kind of the goal. Like I never really articulated that way before, but that's kind of the goal of what I do. And I think a lot of other publishers like Magnetic Press, I think, does a similar thing, right? So when I read a book now, it's like I can really enjoy something. If it doesn't check the boxes, I might not, publish that one. But
Oh
I
man,
don't break myself up about it anymore.
yeah. I
Yeah.
yeah. It's definitely finding that perfect balance of doing it for the enjoyment, and then
Hmm.
how how much can you devote to a certain book just because you really
Right.
like it, and can you make it profitable for your publishing company, and
Yeah. I mean,
how
there's times I don't know, like with this lizard world. I don't know about that. I think anyone who reads it is going to love it.
Mhm.
So I'm
I mean,
calling it.
honestly, word of mouth goes a long way. Like
Yeah.
you um I have a segment on my channel where I talk about hidden gems. Every well, I try to do it every month, but then I get just so much other stuff to read.
Mm,
But I talk about books that not a lot of people talk about that people should be reading or checking out, and it's a lot of fun. And I've gotten so many comments and emails from that segment talking about, thank you so much for showing me this book. I had no idea it was even a thing, and it's one of my favorite segments. And I love hearing that. I love hearing that. I
yeah.
love talking about X-Men. I love talking about Batman. But I
Yeah.
love introducing people to new books and ideas that are out there, because
Well,
sometimes you just need that to speak to you.
yeah.
You could be having a horrible week or a horrible month, year, and something will speak to you from those books. And I think
Yeah.
that's important.
There's
Because
always a comic too for me that when that happens, like I love movies too, but it's like when that experience happens, it's a comic almost all the time. Right? But I have another little, I think it's funny. I was part of my brand is kind of being a comic snob a little bit, right? So
okay,
oh no, these French comics over here, don't look at Spider-Man, right? And
these
but
French comics.
I loved superheroes. Like there was a probably 10-year period where I was completely leaned away from that completely. But ever since the Diamond bankruptcy, I don't know why started picking up Spider-Man and Ninja Turtles again on my tablet, and I've just been having the best time with it. And it's another little bright thing that came out of the Diamond bankruptcy, because like when I was reading those, like you kind of leave it all behind a little bit, you just kind of just escaping completely. And there's something really nice about that.
It could be that you
Yeah.
just needed to take a step back for a little while. Sometimes that
Mhm.
happens, right? And you
Yeah.
and you end up missing the thing that you loved,
Yeah.
maybe for
Yeah.
a while. And I mean that happens to all of us. I've taken a break from comics in
Yeah.
the past, in the '90s, and I've gone back because
Hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love comics, so yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't think I ever I can't let go of them anymore. Not the
No.
way that I used to back in the '90s. Now they've just become a part of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
um and the reprint poll, it's up until Tuesday. I don't know when the poll results will be out. I'm gonna try to get them out on Friday, but it's up until Tuesday, so it's Monday right now, so you still got time to vote. You are so welcome, Seth, and go and check out some Black Panel Press books too while you're
I got another order on the website, so I won't
yeah.
name them just because privacy. But actually, I think it was Tyler again.
But here you go. There is the link to the Panel Press for anybody interested that's watching it live. And if you're watching this later, go and check out the link in the description of the video. You might find a book for you there, and it definitely will help this small publisher stay afloat and keep making awesome books. And hopefully things will balance out, and get back on the track of making 4 to 6 books a year, because that's what's exciting for you. I know.
Let's go for 10.
Let's go for 10, even better. How often do new
Mhm.
creators submit work for publication? That is an excellent question.
Yeah. Yeah, which is nice. Is happening more and more. Actually, this year is really slow for some reason. I don't know why, but I'd say every week we probably get a couple submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one or two, I'd say a week.
So
Yeah.
how do people submit books to you? Do they email you like, hey,
Yeah.
check out my book? Do they give you a pitch? What do you like to see when somebody's submitting their comics to you?
That's a really good question. I have this. We have this page on the website. If you go to contact us, and then there's a link that's to the submissions page. And so it's a form. It's not much that we ask for. It's just 10 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a couple details about the author and stuff like that. And if you have a portfolio, that's great. I look at everything that I receive. So, I will look at it. I don't respond to everyone just because sometimes there's too much going on. Some people, they don't want the feedback. And like I'm an amateur artist myself. If I don't ask you for feedback, do not give me feedback. So that's not cool, right? So I kind of take that approach to it. If they ask me for feedback, I will give them the feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you take the time to give them feedback.
If they ask for it, yeah. If they don't ask for it, no. And I mostly, like, most of the submissions I don't reply to, because there's a lot of times it's like, you don't really understand what Black Panel is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great fit. Like another publisher would be better. They haven't taken the time really to learn about Black Panel. If they have really taken time to, and it's a good submission and everything, I'll respond one way or the other. But yeah, please send the submissions if you have any project that you think will be a good fit for Black Panel. Then
definitely check out their catalog first to see what kind of books.
And it doesn't have to be, like I said, I like to stretch a little bit too. I like to do things I haven't done before, but it can't be so far outside of what we've been doing that it just makes no sense,
Okay, so Andrew, I want to thank everyone for watching.
Yeah,
I want to thank
everyone.
you. Do you like Dark Horse? I think Andrew probably does like Dark Horse.
But off the top of my head, I can't really think of which ones they do.
Well, they're big. They're big for Hellboy, but they do a lot of.
I like Hellboy.
They do a lot of manga like Berserk, and they've brought over a lot of things from Europe in the past. A lot of independent books. They are printing Eric Powell's The Goon right now. Harold County, and they have the big EC library right now, which I'm a huge fan of. Like a lot of the Tales from the Crypt books and those type of stories.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't read anything from them in a while, but
ElfQuest, yes.
ElfQuest, yeah.
So I mean, they were the underdog for a lot of years. I mean, and now they're up there, I think, with competing with Image. But seriously, man, thank you so much for being open.
Oh yeah, they do Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah, now you're looking through their catalog.
I'm looking at their catalog now, yeah, because
they did Cyberpunk.
We worked with Bartosz Tibor, I think, wrote some of the Cyberpunk, and he did a book with us.
Oh, okay.
Which is like much more indie book, yeah. But
yeah, so you probably are familiar with a lot of the creators that do a lot, because they do have a lot of popular things, but they also have licenses for a lot of small. I think they have a contract with. Oh my goodness. It is a webcomic service. It's not like they do have Comixology originals. What is the name of that? It's not Webtoons, but it's something like Webtoons that they do overseas. Now that was really cool because those books
like a Tapastic is an app, I think it's called.
That's it, Tapas. That's it.
Right? They call it Tapas now. It used to be called Tapastic or something like this. It was called.
That's it, man.
I love that. I like that app a lot. But I don't think I'm a fan of pretty much anyone who makes comics. I just think there's just different types. So yeah.
So yeah, I want to thank you for your honesty and your behind the scenes, and this is not an easy subject to talk about whenever you bring in publishing, because I think when it comes to this world of comics, people look for answers, but what they really want to hear is everything's going to be okay. And nothing is going to be different, and which I think everybody wants to hear. But unfortunately, there's a lot of hard work and a lot of things happening behind the scenes that are changing all the time. And I think you have stood the test of time, because there were some troubling times here in the last, especially
6 months.
This last 6 months have been. And not everybody's going to make it out to the other side, man. But so it's good to see a company like yours just stick out and keep moving forward.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And it was a fun conversation too, for one thing. But it's just nice to have like you can feel like support from you and from the viewers. And
Dude, yeah, I meant what I said. I love showing my viewers just different types of books. There's other things
yeah,
out there besides superheroes. Yes, we all love superhero books at the end of the day. I'm an
we all
X-Men
do.
fan forever,
Yeah,
but there's just so many wonderful, beautiful stories that have yet to be read. And that's the other thing about this hobby that I enjoy so much. When people
yeah,
talk about the staleness of comics, how comics aren't doing as well as they used to do. I think we just have so much of a variety now. Back
yeah.
in when I was a kid, we didn't. There wasn't any
There
of
was no
these.
variety. Yeah, that's why
No,
I started the company, really. But I was reached out to a blogger pitching, some of the ideas I pitched to you to talk about,
yeah,
and they said, I don't know if I'd be so optimistic if I were you. And I said,
nice.
nice answer. But I said, one company, whatever happens to one company, is not going to kill comics. They're going to endure forever in some form or another. Where maybe the distribution model will change. Like that's to the long term, story of comics. That's insignificant. What happens to one company? You know, Hopefully we'll see them survive, and so we'll have, like I said, continue to have lots of options. I think based on this alliance sale, we will. Well, yeah, just I love to see everybody out there just reading what they like reading. Read more
Absolutely.
comics.
And I will say, to follow up on that, I do think
Mhm.
there's definitely people out there that just want to see comics fail, uh, so they can
Yeah,
have some good clickbait videos
yeah.
or content.
Some
And
people out there, they're
and
just all,
it's kind of sad, but it's kind of true too. And it's just
yeah,
it gets old. It's the same people that were talking about DC comics dying and they're never going to print another book. And look where we are now. My God, that DC catalog is huge. It's
yeah,
the same kind of people that love negativity.
yeah.
I'm a realist at the end of the day with a slight bit of optimism,
Yeah,
but
that's
at the
great.
end of the day, I am a realist. So it's not the sky's falling down until I truly
No,
feel a
no,
cloud on my head.
it's not that bad.
But dude, thank you so much for your time,
Mhm.
and everyone go and check out Black Panel Press Books. I know I will be, and obviously Tyler, thank you so much, buddy. And smash that like button on the way out. Thank you everyone for watching. Andrew, anytime you want to come back, brother, you're more than
Thank you,
welcome.
sir. Great chatting with you.
Absolutely. Everyone have a great